So I'm Eileen, Executive Director of Alpha Lambda Delta. The national office is running at 100%. We are just not working in the office. So we are all working from home and using Zoom like everybody else. And we've put like a lot of invitations are still out there. I'm not sure about your chapters in particular, but a lot are continuing into the fall, and we'll deal with that. Danielle, I'm going to have Danielle go next to introduce herself, and then if we could all, but Danielle is helping facilitate today.
Hi everybody, I'm Danielle, and if you don't know me, I am one of the student member at larges. I'm now a senior. I'll be a senior next year, so I consider this year already over. I'm out of school, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not there anymore. So yeah, so I'll be a senior. I'm studying biochemistry at St. Vincent College. It's a small liberal arts school located kind of near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm really glad to get to know everybody here on this chat today. So if you want to go next, Aubrey?
Sure. I don't know how to use Zoom, but I guess I'll just start talking. I'm Aubrey Johnson, and I'm the president of the Blue Mountain College Alpha Lambda Delta chapter. We're pretty small, but yeah, I've enjoyed it so far. That's it.
Good. Kaylee, Kaylee, how about you?
Hi, my name is Kaylee Boyles, and I am the president of the Hanover College chapter in Indiana. We're a small liberal arts college, and just really excited to be here.
Yay. Shanaza?
My name is Shinaza, and I'm the vice president of AOD at University of Alabama, Birmingham. We've been down for about like 3 years, so we just started like kicking off in the fall. So we're just starting to like build up our chapter back again. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm looking forward to learning a lot from everyone here.
Great. Your chapter came back with a bang. They got really big numbers.
Yeah.
Like they just had not been active for years, and then all of a sudden they reactivated, and it's like boom, like a lot, really high numbers.
Yeah.
Right. And we just lost somebody, but hopefully they'll come back. So I'm just going to sort of give an overview because we've hosted a couple of these for advisors, but we had been hosting a series for chapter officers like you, and Danielle's been facilitating them, and just sort of leaving it up to answer any questions you have. But because things are so different right now, and everybody's dealing with different things, we knew about some things we wanted to address. And so we had a couple what we called advisor chats yesterday and the day before, and a couple of sort of common themes come up. Let's see. I think one of the big things was, so as I mentioned earlier, we've put on hold. So Birmingham, you're done. I can't remember for Blue Mountain College and some other chapters. Do you know if you have open invitations still, still things, still students being invited?
For me, we did have emails sent out, I think the week before our spring break. So people were invited. We just haven't had the initiation.
Yes. Okay. So that's right. Blue Mountain College. I think Alabama, you already did. I can't remember if you had your ceremony yet.
Yeah, we had the induction in February. Yeah, February.
Okay. Great. Right. And then Hanover has also, I think for Hanover, you just sort of just ended and then this all hit, right? So you haven't had a ceremony, or did you?
We have not had a ceremony yet, though we've had a lot of people asking about it.
Right. Okay, so let me start there. For most of the chapters, they've extended their invitation. So normally our normal cycle of activity is you invite early spring from the fall semester grades, freshmen with a 3.5 or higher, and then they're invited, and an invitation might be open for a month or so. Then you have a ceremony, an induction ceremony, where they're all initiated at some point in March or April or early May. So all of that is sort of out. If you didn't already get that done before COVID-19 hit, then everything just got put on hold. And so invitations are still open and students can still join. and you would push everything to the fall. Did St. Vincent had their ceremony already too? Yeah, so
Yeah.
2 of you. Yeah, a bunch. There were a bunch that got their ceremonies in just in time. But if you didn't, all you're really going to do is sort of reschedule it for the fall if you can. So if the advisor is sort of up for it, or if the student officers can pull it off, you can host one in the fall. And then next spring, just sort of get back on track. Hopefully this is all sort of taken care of, or, you know, we're past this in a year and we can sort of get all back to normal. But so really just, you're going to have a ceremony in the fall. It doesn't have to be the most elaborate thing. It never has to be an elaborate ceremony, but if you can't quite pull off what you wanted to do in the spring, at least just have some gathering. Just invite all the new members to a gathering. We'll print and ship your certificates to the advisor. And there's a full-on ceremony script. Hopefully you're familiar with. If not, it's on our website. And then just go through sort of the motions of the ceremony in the fall. So let me stop there and see if there are particular questions you might have had, because some people were asking about online ceremonies, which we can talk about, and some other things. But let me see. And then Danielle, if you want to chime in if there's any other subjects, but anything about open invitations in your induction ceremony. Nothing. Does that make sense then for some of you? For I guess for Hanover and Blue Mountain, that's what you would do, is just have it in the fall. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Kaylee, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I kind of had more of a specific to our chapter question about that.
Yep.
So
Okay.
our advisor actually is pregnant right now, and she will not be around when that kind of happens again, and we have no idea what we're going to do in terms of switching advisors. And if that were to happen, do you think it would still even be viable to do it in the fall with somebody who is new like that?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I think so. I mean, at least. So is it Lindsay who is leaving or having a baby? Lindsay. Okay. I'm just looking at my email over here. So why don't we? Do you know when she's due? When?
No.
Okay. So we'll figure it out. I mean, I think it's definitely something that can still happen. You don't need to have the advisor there to have some sort of ceremony. As long as you're able to book a room, if student officers can reserve space on campus, that's all you have to do is find space. And then if you don't already have access to the online membership management system called MHS, do you have access to it?
I do not think so.
So let's make sure that you have access to it. So I'll follow up with you and get you access so you can log in, see who's joining, download lists of students. You can do everything you need to do right in the system. So I will get you access, and then let's chat separately about making sure that everything's in order. You can get a ceremony going, and then I'll help you find a new advisor too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. Danielle, you want to chime in, or anything you wanted to chat about, or see if there's any questions?
So I had 2 things that I thought was important. So first, I'd just like to ask what approach each chapter that's on right now, what approach are you this upcoming year? And
Let me can I interrupt real quick? Is Danielle breaking up for everybody, or is it just me?
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
So Danielle, I don't think we heard anything.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to start and ask everybody what approach you guys are taking for officer transitioning this upcoming year, and if you had any ideas of how you're going to go about doing that, considering everything that's going on.
Well, for UAB, I mean, since we just started off this spring, we wouldn't have to worry about officers transitioning till like next year. But in the meantime, we had to select other officers because during the induction, all we had was the president and the vice president. So we had to do everything ourselves. So amidst the corona problem, we had to send out online officer applications for everyone. I had to like quiz them online. So we just finally finished that. So we're going to try and host a Zoom meeting and see if we could host some events like online or create a social media account as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to chime in?
What's your officer terms for the other two campuses? Do they go spring to spring or fall to fall, or do you know?
We usually go spring to spring. As a matter of fact, we would have had our yearly meeting to vote in officers, but we didn't do it in time. We didn't realize like the coronavirus would shut down the school.
Yeah.
As of now, what I'm thinking is after our induction in the fall, and this might be long-winded, but after our induction in the fall, we may just have a follow-up meeting 1 to 2 weeks after and then vote in new officers and probably give them a rundown of like what's expected and things like that.
Are your new officers sophomores, or is it just like any class?
You can be sophomore, junior, senior.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open to any class. We're pretty basic, we're pretty
The only
fresh.
thing I suggest is give the new inductees a little bit of time to adjust and see what ALD is all about, because you might not get the sophomores interested right away if you jump in too early and say, hey, you're just inducted, but now we're going to ask you to be an officer. Like they might be like, whoa, we just got inducted. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what this is all about yet. I would definitely
Right.
give them a little bit of time to acclimate. Maybe have an online event if you can. That would be good.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Welcome. Kaylee, do you guys know what you're doing yet?
Yes, well, we had two kind of different ideas that we were bouncing off of, because basically we go spring to spring. So we would have actually switched our officers during May because we have May term, and obviously that did not get to happen. So particularly what we're trying to avoid is something that happened kind of every single year up until this year, which it's unfortunate, but for whatever reason, our chapter kind of has this habit of inducting new members really quickly into officer positions, and then they don't really, fully understand what ALD is about, and it kind of falls a little bit through the cracks. And my exec team and I had to work really hard to try to pull ourselves out of that kind of mindset this year. And so that's kind of what we're trying to avoid is, so I'm glad that you kind of mentioned giving them time to adjust to it, because that is kind of within our own little tradition for some reason at Hanover's chapter, is to quickly kind of get everything moved over. But I don't think that that's the most beneficial option, because we just, we don't want something to fall between the cracks, basically. But we had to consider doing a Zoom meeting and having everybody kind of do an online application. But because we didn't really even get to meet with our new inductees before the coronavirus shutdown occurred, we don't even know them personally. We haven't spoken to them outside of emails. So we didn't want it to seem too impersonal, and we didn't want it to come across that we were just kind of tossing something onto them that they haven't even really been involved with yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably going to try to wait till fall and do it then after the induction.
Yep. I'm just going to chime in about officers in general. So we recommend some things. We offer some resources. Hopefully you're familiar with our chapter handbook on our website that has a whole page just on student officers and transitions, sample position descriptions, sample applications, just sort of the whole overview. It's in our chapter handbook. But that's all just recommendations, like we don't prescribe. So whatever works for your campus, don't feel like you have to do it any certain way, or that you have to do it the way it's always been done. So go ahead and challenge the system and make it what works for you. And it's interesting, Kaylee, you should say that. I mean, I think you're right that sometimes brand new members, the end of their freshman year, they're sort of thrust into a leadership position. And the one end, like that can be really cool for a student, like, oh my God, I'm like chapter president, I'm still a freshman. Like, so that's a nice opportunity for campuses where that works. But there's also, and Danielle can speak to this, I think it's really important to have junior and senior advisor type positions on your board as well, on your officer slate, because those are the ones that were president a year ago or 2 years ago. They're juniors and they're seniors. I believe, Danielle, you're a junior advisor, right?
Yeah.
That keeps that continuity so that they're not reinventing the wheel every year and they're not floundering alone without knowing what to do. Has that worked well for St. Vincent? Or
I don't
in
know.
theory, it could.
In theory,
Maybe
it's
not.
supposed to. If you have like, a good foundation, like your advisor's willing to account for everybody and work with everybody, then yeah, it'll really work. But you have to have all hands on deck kind of to make that work.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you decide, I mean, not all chapters elect freshmen, new members in the end of their freshman year in the spring. They don't do that. A lot do, a lot don't. So if you feel like the students just aren't ready to take on leadership roles that soon, do it in the fall, or just only elect sophomores as officers. Some have seniors still as officers and they can keep the position for more than 1 year. So yeah, and again, our handbook has lots of different pages on it, lots of different sections, and I think there's a lot there you might find useful.
And then I had one more thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
You
go
can
ahead.
talk.
Shalana.
Okay, well, I just wanted to drop this. I'm actually a freshman vice president, so I think that with the right guidance that any freshman or sophomore could be able to work, especially if you have good chapter advisors, because the way the corona thing is going, no one knows what it's going to be like in the fall. So, I mean, if you feel like you have freshmen or sophomores who can do the work, I think you should give them an opportunity, because I'm just a freshman and I had to like step out and try it. And right now everything's going really well. So you should give them the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. And that's good. I mean, that's one of our selling points. To be honest, as I mentioned that when I promote ALD across the country and try and get new chapters to form, I say, ALD, unlike a lot of organizations on campus, provides a leadership opportunity very early in a college career. It's very unusual that you'd be president of the psychology club or, the student union board or whatever it is that early. So ALD is unique in that way. So.
And then there's one other thing I wanted to suggest. In light of everything that's going on with the coronavirus, I think now is a very good time to start planning your events, even for next semester. Because yeah, you're home and you're bored, you don't have anything to do. Like, why not start making a timeline of events? You know what I mean? So, and then I think also what you could do is, if you do want to start transitioning officers, work with them on planning events for the next semester. I mean, take the time and say like, hey, this is how we used to do it. And I'm going to work with you and we're going to create a new event for the fall. And you can kind of get them to transition that way. And that would be a good way to transition freshmen, especially if you were going to go that route and include them as well, the upcoming sophomores. You could have them help you plan events. So that way they're ready to go whenever it comes time for them to take over.
Is anyone doing online events? Are you engaging any members like now in the last 2 weeks or the next week, like now virtually? Anybody doing anything?
I mean, we're trying to, but finals are coming up and people are just busy. But for the most part, we should have one, like a Zoom meeting or a Zoom social event where everyone could just like introduce themselves. It could have like icebreakers, ask them how school is going.
Yep.
We're planning to have that before the end of the semester anyway. We just haven't fixed a time and date because we just finished our officer applications this week.
Yep.
So we have to meet with them first before we have the Zoom meeting.
Right. Good. That sounds like a great idea. Simple. Invite everybody, do icebreakers, and people I think are getting used to Zoom now or whatever else. Anybody else doing anything this semester? our students pretty stressed about other things, like other things are on their mind, or is that, yeah. That's, yeah, I hear a range that some are like bored and ready to get involved and want to do stuff, and others are like, leave me alone, I gotta figure out how to take this online class. And, you know, especially ALD students are high achievers, so they are gonna want to do well in their classes, and that's a priority. So if it's a major transition from in-class to online and they still want to do well in it, it can be tough. Do you know about our COVID-19 webpage that we developed? Did I mention that in an email? So we've got a couple key resources to help your students, to help members. Did I mention it yet? Let's go do a quick screen share. Oh, wrong one. So just so you know, it's at, you know, nationalald.org/COVID-19. But we know that academic success is really important. So there might be some things here you could, you know, share this meme. You could, you know, download it as an image and throw this meme out on your Instagram or something. How to do well in online classes. A couple websites for study tips for how to do well in online classes. Mental health and stress and anxiety is another topic that we know is important to high achieving students. So here's some resources you could share, even if it's just sending them a link to all your members, or again mentioning it on any social media. But let them know that there's help out there and how to maybe handle stress and anxiety. And then just for you as an officer, this last section has some fun ideas for online bingo and icebreakers and just fun. These are more really fun social, especially this link right here has a lot of ideas. Movie nights where everybody watches the same Netflix movie, and I don't know. So that's our resource page for what's happening now.
My teacher, my biochem professor, said something that really hit home about this whole coronavirus issue. He told me, like, I'm gonna try to apply to vet school next year, this summer actually. And what I'm concerned about is getting into school. You know, I have to go take the graduate record exam. That's probably gonna be online now. And I'm worried about my grades because this is the last semester that I have until my transcript gets sent out and there's my GPA. Like, it might go down this semester because of what's happening. And I expressed that to him, and he told me, don't worry about it. Everybody's going through this. And it's not just you, it's not just the school, it's not even just the state, it's literally everybody. Everyone's going through this right now. They're not just gonna single you out when they look at your application. And I think, like, for people that are in ALD, that's important for them to know. All of us want good grades, all of us want to get A's, but we're all going through this, and it's a pandemic. Like, you got to give yourself some slack. And I think that really helped me calm down and just try to, like, relax and not really worry as much about my grades. Like, yeah, I'm worried about it, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't stress out to the point where you're just so upset with yourself, because I honestly find it more distracting being at home and trying to study and things like that. And yeah, you know what I mean? But you just have to think, like, it's not just you, it's not even your whole school, it's not the whole state, it's the entire United States. So you just have to keep that in mind, and hopefully maybe if you share that with your members, that might help them. Even if it helps one person, I think that makes a difference.
Nice.
That's really good. Thank you.
That's the whole world. I think that some schools are like, some classes are turning to pass-fail. So that's really going to impact GPAs, and that's totally true. That's great advice your faculty told you, because everybody's experiencing it. So there's only so much you can do. Do the best you can, and that's it. Yeah.
I read this thing on social media the other day. It said, "Eat that cookie. We're going through a pandemic." I was like, okay, I
Agreed.
will.
Eat the cookie. So what else operationally, anything else for the fall? Like, thinking about what to do, how to do stuff in the fall when you come back?
This is just more of a thing for the spring that I've been thinking about. I'm going to share with the other officers at Blue Mountain College. We haven't done our service project yet, and since we're all scattered, I was like, well, we might as well just throw this in the bag and call it a year. But I was talking with my mom, and she was like, the people in the nursing homes, like, they don't have anybody, like, nobody can see them because they're completely shut down. She's like, why don't you encourage, Alpha Lambda Delta to maybe like write letters to the people in the nursing homes or something like that. And I wanted to see, do you think that would maybe be a good idea? Do you think that we could, well, maybe my chapter specifically, do you think that would make sense to do right now as a service project?
I love it. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, yeah, I mean, what else, what do you think? I mean, I think it's something you can do that, I mean, people are still getting mail for now. So it's like the one last bastion of contact as we're getting stuff in the mail. And even that's like at risk because they're running out of money. So, because they can just type, you can sort of get all together if you want it online and talk about ideas for what you're going to write. But I think elderly and those in homes would love that. I love that idea.
Awesome.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. Very good idea. I just have a quick question. Is the service learning thing specific to just your chapter, or it's like every AOD chapter is supposed to have like a service learning thing?
That's just the requirement as of now for our chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't require service from the national office, but we strongly encourage it, and most chapters are engaged in some sort of service throughout the year. It's up to the chapter. We do propose a theme every year, just as a place to focus. And we don't have next year's theme anyway. So this past year it was children. That doesn't mean, you have to do activities with children or related to children. The year before that was animals. So we just throw a theme out there just for the heck of it, but you do whatever you want. And it's a nice way to engage the chapter. Most students like to do service projects and feel like they're making a difference and contribute to their community. So, but it's up to you what to do.
If you ever want to talk to me about service too, you can email me or call me if you want. I have a lot of ideas about service. I was the president of my chapter last year, so it was basically me on the front line making up all the events and stuff. So
Yeah,
if
that'd be really
anybody ever
helpful.
wants to talk about that,
Can you type your email in the chat?
yeah. Let me figure out how to do that here. We actually don't use Zoom in my classes.
Oh, you don't? Oh.
No, we our school uses this software called Schoology, and in Schoology there's a conference tab. So
Okay.
yeah, we don't. I think I found it though.
Yeah, it's like a little bubble, like a chat bubble. Yeah, at the bottom. I wrote, "We'll be starting soon." You'll see. There we go. Nice.
Yay.
Yeah, so that'd be good to reach out. Yeah, and then I would encourage you to, well, this is a good rule for anything you want to do with the chapter, not just service, but if you're looking for students to support something and come out and do something, ask them what they want to do, like involve them in the decision, and do a brainstorming session for, okay, we want to do a service project in September or October, or what, everybody start contributing ideas. And yeah, my favorite sentence in the whole world is people support what they help create.
Mm.
So if you ask them, maybe they'll show up because
You
they
don't even have to
contribute.
ask them in person. If you just give them a Google form.
Yeah.
That way they don't, because people aren't going to be like, oh, I don't want to do that, you know?
Yes. Yeah, right. Do something electronically. Yeah. Right. A poll, SurveyMonkey there's free versions of all these things where you do something. Even MHS has a way to poll students about stuff. So. Great, good. Anything else? Service, induction ceremonies. Look at that website here.
Oh, well, there's something I've been a bit worried about. I'm just thinking, like, for example, I am the president just got into office this spring, and we'll probably elect new officers next year. But because of the pandemic, we probably weren't able to like host as many events as we would have loved to. So I'm just thinking about it on a larger scale. Like, let's say we wanted to like apply for a national scholarship or something. Would we be like very affected since we weren't able to host that many events because of the pandemic? Like, how would the National Society decide stuff like that?
So that's a great question. I think that we've just finished the cycle of scholarships for this year. It just ended. In fact, the deadline is Friday for the TRO scholarship. So there's still just a whole year next year to have the impact that would impact your application. So there's plenty of time. So I don't think you missed. I mean, we've only really missed a month, right? And well, by the end of the semester, it'll be probably 2 months, I guess. But the activity that's judged on the applications for Alpha Lambda Delta scholarships anyway, you'll have all of the fall and most of the spring to reflect engagement and involvement. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I
Yes, it
don't think
does.
you've missed, like, especially for TRO. So the TRO is our main undergraduate scholarship. You apply in your sophomore year, and it reflects your involvement your sophomore year. And the
All right, thank you.
application is due April 1st. We extended it this year because of the pandemic, but it's April 1st every year. So you'll have summer, fall, and most of spring before you apply. Thank you, everybody. Very nice to meet you all. Thanks for all
Thank
you
you,
do for Alpha Lambda Delta. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.